Hey everybody, it's Christine Parma of ChristineParma.com back with you today on this wonderful Thursday evening Eastern. I am here with your pre-weekend mindset reset. The whole purpose of this particular series that I'm doing is to set your mind right on a particular topic, give you some great advice and strategies around how to deal more with the inner battle that goes on in life and entrepreneurship, and kind of dig deep into some of these topics that aren't, particularly business oriented, so they don't really belong in the business training series I'm doing. Thanks so much for the likes, but I feel like they're really, really important to share. I'm going to quickly refresh my page so I can see you guys' comments, because for some reason I can't see who shows up when I'm doing these on my profile page. Hi, Kenyon. Great to have you here. So the topic of today is about how to make the right decision even when you're feeling overwhelmed or stuck or scared. I think this is a really important topic, not just in general in life, but for me, I talk to and work with a lot of moms who are also entrepreneurs or parentpreneurs, dadpreneurs, mompreneurs, in working with them to build their soul-fulfilling businesses. So it's, a lot of times it's like the overwhelm. It's like we feel like we have this mountain of to-do list that is crushing us and sucking the life out of us sometimes. And it can be really, really hard to have, find that magic balance between work and family life. So I'm going to talk, that's kind of a topic I'm going to talk on a little bit later down the road. Hi Aruna, so great to have you here. Today is about making those decisions, and this really applies to finding the balance in your life, or making decisions in your business, or just how you deal with regular challenges that come up in your life. So I'll give you an example, because I like to give examples. When I was many years ago, back in 2006, was when I quit, but for years prior to that, I was a financial planner. And it was really very clear to me in a lot of ways that was not the right path for me anymore. And thank you for the likes. And but I was so stuck. I was so afraid. Hi Danielle. I was so afraid to leave what I knew, right? The safety, the income, the security, and leap out into doing something else, or because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was really, really stuck on making a decision. One of the things that stops us, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed, or we're like, oh my God, I just don't know what to do, I don't know what the right decision is that we're afraid we're going to make the wrong decision. Right? If that resonates with you, give me, a thumbs up, or, hit something on your screen to say, yeah, we're all afraid of making the wrong decision, right? We're afraid a decision that we make is going to somehow turn into Armageddon for our lives. And it's going to be the worst decision we've ever made. And it's going to have super tragic consequences. I'll be honest, some decisions can have super, tragic consequences, like driving when you're drunk, or, other things like that. Letting your children play with guns, there's lots of examples that decisions could lead to tragic consequences. But in the context of what I'm talking about, it's more around, what's the next right step for me in my business? What's the next right step for me in my life? The process that I kind of really got tuned into is kind of twofold. It addresses my rational, maybe somewhat rational fears, but kind of the left brain fears that are going on in my mind, to help me move past those, and also more of the feeling and the intuition part of the decision-making process. The first thing I do, because it's fear that stops us from making decisions, right, and is keeping us stuck, it's address those fears, get them out on paper. I'm like, okay, so if I make a decision here, I choose to go, let's say, right instead of left, what's the worst possible outcome? Like, for example, in my example, when I was afraid to quit this job I had that I hated but was, paying the bills, I was like, what's the worst possible outcome here? And I started listing it out. I was like, okay, I won't have any income, and therefore I'm going to be homeless, and I won't be able to feed myself, and oh my God, I'll feel so ashamed, and what will people think of me, and my people will think I'm a loser, and just kind of like let it all out and snowball onto the paper. And then that gave me the opportunity to get some perspective around that, where I could actually look at what the fears were that I had and say, okay, well, how likely is this really to happen? Like, how likely is it for me to be homeless? Now, for some people, quitting their job would make them homeless, and they couldn't take care of their children. They couldn't feed their children. In my context, I felt like, thank you for the like, I felt like that wasn't going to happen, that I had enough friends, enough family, that I could crash on somebody's couch. I could go home to mom, or go home to dad, even in my 30s or 20s, upper 20s, if I needed to, right? So I felt like, okay, there's enough. I mean, yeah, it might be embarrassing. It's not the best solution, but I wouldn't really be homeless. So I started crossing off these fears and addressing them. And then I did the flip side. Okay, what are the really awesome things that could happen? What are the awesome things that could happen? I could find work I love. I could feel fulfilled during my every day that I'm working, and I could feel like my work is making a difference, and the work would be in alignment with my values, and I'd be able to inspire people. And even though I didn't know what the job was called, those are the feelings and the qualities I wanted around my work. So, my question to you is, what's a decision that you've been afraid to make, or something that you're feeling overwhelmed by? Start doing like this first part of the process I'm sharing with you. Start writing down your fears and your hopes around that decision, and start looking at, logically, you can start kind of weighing the pros and the cons. What are the pros and the cons of deciding one way or the other? The third thing that I do is, because the first ever blog post I wrote was called Stuck on Stuck, and it was a different example than the example I'm giving you, but it was because I lost so much time and energy and joy being stuck in this particular decision. And at the time, it was a decision around my website. I'm launching my business. Which website should I create? What theme should I use? What platform I wanted to do? Make sure it was the right one and it was the best one, so I wouldn't have to go back and redo the work later. And I spent so much time stuck there. It was such a drain. And finally, I'm like, I just can't be here anymore. And so I went through these first steps of the process, and then the next step is commit. Make a decision. Choose something. Even if it might turn out not to be, quote, the right decision, you have to choose something in order to be able to get the feedback from other people, from yourself, from your environment, about whether that decision was, quote, right or not. When you stay stuck, essentially you are making a decision. You're making the default decision of allowing whatever's going to happen, other people to make the decision for you. Whatever's going to happen actually happens, and that's a default decision. So even when you're not making a decision and proactively moving forward, you are making a decision, and it's really a decision that gives up your power. It gives up any control or power you have around creating your outcome versus living by default in that outcome. And I kind of had the inspiration for this mindset reset. I was reading a Stephen Covey quote, and he says, life, I'm paraphrasing now because I'm reading it, but life, I am not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decisions. And that's absolutely right. You are a product of your decisions, even if you feel like I didn't make a decision. And I think it's kind of going off on a tangent a little bit here. I think a lot of times we choose not to make decisions and leave it up to other people because we want to, if something goes wrong later, feel like, well, that wasn't our fault because we didn't choose that. We didn't make that decision. But I'm kind of going to be in your face about this and be blunt about it. When you Don't make a decision. You are making a decision, and therefore you are still responsible for the outcomes that happen in your life. Full responsibility. Thank you for the like. Hi, Rodney. So good to have you here. So, you can either choose to proactively make a decision and maybe have it go more your way because you are deciding what you want. There's the whole concept of the energy, the law of attraction and being in the energy of actually what you want. Or you can decide by default and let circumstance kind of decide for you, but it's still your decision and you are responsible for the outcomes. So the third step, I kind of circled around here. The third step is to actually commit to a decision. And then don't change your mind for at least 72 hours. I mean, that's like the minimum amount. But sit with that decision. See what it feels like when you've kind of had a chance to exhale and you're like, okay, I finally got unstuck. I made a decision. Now I'm moving forward. What's it feel like? What's the feedback? Does it seem like the right decision for you after all? Give it some time. I mean, a lot of decisions need more time to get the feedback that you need. For me, just simply making a decision moved me out of overwhelm, got me unstuck, got me moving forward. And I was like, you know what? I don't have to have the perfect website right now. It's fine. If this isn't the be-all and end-all website for me, that's cool. I'm cool with that. As long as it doesn't embarrass me, look embarrassing for me, then I can move forward and I can start concentrating and focusing on the things that matter. And this is really one of the big costs to staying stuck in indecision and overwhelm is you are not able to move forward. You're not able to reallocate that energy that is being sucked up and drained by the overwhelm and the indecision into something that's more productive. If you're a mama CEO or a daddy CEO, you got lots of things pulling on your time, or vying for your time. There are decisions that have to be made every single day about how you spend your time, about how you spend your energy. And if, one of the biggest complaint that I see, especially, because I kind of talk more to mompreneurs, but the mama CEOs talk about, they're like, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to spend in my business. I'm not spending enough time with my kids. I just can't find the time to launch my business or create my program or work on my business. It's not enough time. Well, the first step to, quote, creating more time is to make decisions quickly so you can move into action and not be stuck and not get stuck and overwhelmed. So instead of looking at your long to-do list and going, oh my God, there are 25,000 things on my to-do list. How am I ever going to get them done? And believe me, I've been there in the overwhelm. I completely understand the feeling. And I guess I've gotten myself to the point where I don't indulge myself in that feeling very much. Because what I do is I look at the list and I'm like, okay, yes, there are 25,000 things I need to do, ideally for my business or, for the kids. What is the next best thing I can do? And that can be kind of that pre-action taking filter. What is the next best thing in this situation for my business, for my kids? Look at it from what's really important, as far as which business activities those should be. If you want to find out what they are, where you should be focusing your time, you can download the 6-figure business checklist that I have as a free resource for you. It's in the banner on my business page, which I would love it if you would hop over to my business page at Christine Parma Fan and like it if you want to get notified of the more business trainings I do over there. Or you can find the checklist at christineparma.com/business-checklist. That was a quick segue. The point is that you've got to make decisions quickly if you don't want them to turn into an energy drain. And you will find, the magic is that it somehow creates more time. You will get so much more done in your business. You will be like, wow, I can actually be with my kids and focus on being with my kids. Not be on my phone, trying to answer an email, for work or something. I can feel great about where I am, both in business and in my family, and find peace, right? That's it. Find peace and joy in your life and fulfillment at the same time. So I hope that you enjoyed this quick mindset reset. I'll recap the 3 steps. Number 1, list out kind of the worst case scenario that could happen for making a decision. Get those fears out on paper. And also the best case scenario. What could be amazing and wonderful that could come out of just simply making a decision and moving forward. And then number 2, start crossing them off. Kind of go through and look at them, examine them, like especially the worst case scenario ones, is this really kind of realistic that it would happen, or could I rationally feel like, hey, I'm never going to be homeless, or yeah, I'd find a way to pay the bills, or hey, even if I launch my business idea into the world and it's a total flop, I'll be okay. We'll make it through somehow. I have been through some really, really rough things in my life, in some very dark places. And I survived, and sometimes it takes a lot of perspective to see the lessons in a situation, especially if it's a really bad situation. But most of the time, you're going to survive. You'll figure it out somehow. And it's about having kind of confidence sometimes in yourself or others to be able to make it through that. So number 3 is to make a decision. Make a decision. Commit to it for at least 72 hours and don't look back. Just move forward with that decision and start to recalibrate, and like, does it feel right? Does it seem to be going the right way? And stick to it. Number 4 really is, if it turns out that the decision you made, and the thing I have to preface this with is we are all making the best decisions we can at any given moment. So don't feel like, God, I was so stupid, I made a bad decision. Given the information you have at the time, given the circumstances, given where you are when you're making that decision, you are making the decision that is the best decision you are capable of. I really don't believe that anybody sits around thinking, what is the worst decision I can make here, and let me do that so I can totally, screw up my life or whatever it is. No, we are all making the best decisions, even if they, in hindsight, they seem like a total boneheaded decision, right? So be forgiving with yourself around that. If, a decision turns out not to be the right decision, you have the opportunity at every day, at every moment, to choose something new, to make a new decision, and be in the driver's seat of your life. Because like I said, if you are not making a decision, you are making a decision. It's a decision by default, and it is a disempowering one. It's one that you give up control in that decision-making process. Thank you for the heart. So I'm going to leave it there for today. I hope that you can take the steps that I shared or some inspiration from this video and apply it to your life so that you can, when you get in those situations where you're feeling overwhelmed, where you're feeling stuck, that you can quickly move forward, because it's in the action that you will actually discover and create what it is that you want to have in your life and in your business. So if you want to learn more about me and who I am and how I can serve you possibly by helping you build your soul-fulfilling business without giving up the things that matter most to you, you can hop on over to ChristineParma.com and I'll be there. If you want to have a comment or a question that you want to share about this video, I would love to hear them and I will answer them. So even if you're catching this on the replay, please post your questions, your comments in the comments section below the video. And if you like it, please share it. Think about, are there 2 people that you can think of in your life who maybe are kind of stuck, having trouble making a decision, who might actually benefit from this information? Maybe it'll be just the inspiration to help them move forward. And I would be so grateful for you if you did share it and you liked it. So thank you so much for joining me today on this Mindset Reset. And I will be back with you guys over on my business page at Christine Parma Fan on Facebook with a more business-oriented training on, let's see, what is that? I'm a little bit time zone. It's on Monday night you guys' time, Eastern. So, well, if you're in the United States, it's your time. So Monday night Eastern, I have my live stream schedule posted on my business page also. So thank you again so much. I wish you amazing success in your business and life. And until I see you next time, shine brilliantly. Bye-bye.